Have you had a moment where you've been working on your craft, whatever it is, your project, and you think that this is going to be the moment when it all happens, when it all falls into place? All of your calling people and making inquiries, this is it. I had a moment, and it's actually a really good moment, even though it didn't quite turn out as I had hoped. It was still a really important moment. When you take a step towards something, it takes 3 steps towards you, which I definitely think is true. I took a risk. I thought this was it. I have been working on my songwriting, and at this point in the story, I've been writing for 15 years, 16 years or so. And I live in New York City. I am a teacher. That's how I pay the bills. It's a very rewarding job. I'm very lucky to have that job. So in addition to writing and playing out and performing around the city, I was teaching 2nd grade in Brooklyn. And that year, I happened to have in my class the son of an excellent director named Peter Hedges. Wonderful, wonderful, sweet soul. When we met, September of 2001, you think about the significance of that time. It had turned out that Peter, who wrote the screenplay of What's Eating Gilbert Grape with Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio, that's what I knew. And it turned out that Peter went to this camp that I went to when I was a kid called Interlochen in northern Michigan. And Peter was a theater major, and I was a theater major. And we were close enough in age that we shared the same teachers at Interlochen, some of the same teachers. So, and my experience at Interlochen really changed my life. Singing Gilbert and Sullivan and doing Shakespeare, these experiences were vital, very crucial. And so happens that Peter had the same, he had worked with some of the same people, and he had the same experience. Now, shortly after we got to know each other and found out about our common experience, September 11th happened. And I'll never forget this. I remember, it was a very heavy time. I was teaching in Brooklyn on that day. I remember Peter saying, gosh, why can't life be, when we were kids, we just used to solve things by writing musicals about them, right? Everything's so hard. Why can't we just write a musical about this? It made me think about how theater brings people together and how united artistic endeavors bring people together. But that's not the point of this story. During this time, Peter was making a movie called Pieces of April. The parents would drop their kids off in the morning, and I would chat with all of the parents. I mean, it's part of the job to have a good relationship with parents and to discuss things with them. But Peter, like I said, Peter and I had some things in common, and he's a really cool guy. And he had everything in place before September 11th even happened. He was going to make this movie, and that movie had Patricia Clarkson and Katie Holmes and Oliver Platt. Peter was directing this film, and he was shooting it in the city, which had just been through this very traumatic event. We were talking about some of the things that he was facing. The movie is called Pieces of April, which is a Three Dog Night song. And I'm sorry to say I forget why he didn't use that song in the movie. I don't remember. Maybe he will chime in and tell us. But anyway, we started talking about music, and he was talking about how, amongst other things, he was sort of looking to assemble a soundtrack. Now, I was aware that, all right, I'm the teacher of his son, and, there are certain professional boundaries that need to be established, but we were talking about music, and he had really good taste in music, and I decided that I would say, you know what? I write music. I would love it if you would have a listen to something that I wrote. Now, it's very uncomfortable for me to promote myself in that way. But again, we had so much in common. He was such a nice guy. So I did it. And because he's such a nice guy, he said, great, give me some stuff. I'll listen to it. Now, the kind of music that he was looking for this movie, it's a movie, and you really should see it. It's got this very 70s aesthetic. Peter, as I recall, was mentioning Hal Ashby as kind of a mentor. So the movie Harold and Maude, if you think about the role that Cat Stevens plays in that movie, Cat Stevens' music rather, Cat Stevens' music in Harold and Maude is almost like a character in a way. It sets a very specific tone, and in fact, Pieces of April is definitely like that in tone. So he was looking for one musician whose music was going to sort of carry through the movie. And he had been talking to me about, I remember he really loved Cat Power. He was like, God, she's so great. And she is. And he was kind of hoping for Cat Power. I'm not sure what happened with that. But anyway, he took my song. He said, all right, I'll listen to it. He came back like a week or so later, and he said, listen, I got to tell you, your song is what this movie's about. And I was just like, oh, I thought this was it. And he said, now don't get excited. I'm going to see what can be done. Now, I didn't really know this. In fact, this is kind of where I learned this. But, every movie has a music supervisor, and you can't just throw anything you want on there. I thought, oh my goodness, I think this is it. I think this is going to be it. It wasn't it. And he went with another writer who he really loved, Stephen Merritt, the writer for Magnetic Fields, and that's whose music is in the film. Stephen Merritt, I believe, is all throughout Pieces of April. I'm sharing this story partly as a thank you to Peter Hedges, but also just to let you know that you can come so close. And the thing is that even though it didn't quite work out, it was so affirming to know that somebody who really appreciates these things saw value in what I did, and was helpful, and was complimentary, and was supportive. It just helped me to know that I should keep going, that I was onto something. I know that I Miss the Comforts of Home was my first single. And you should see Pieces of April if you haven't seen it. It's a really amazing film. Patricia Clarkson and Oliver Platt are absolutely phenomenal. Katie Holmes is great too. But Patricia Clarkson, oh my gosh. So thank you, Peter. And thank you, everybody, for listening to the story.